Am I the only person that remembers Quad City DJs? Because I feel like I'm the only person that remembers Quad City DJs. They're the people who actually did the opening theme song for Space Jam and probably know them more for Come On Ride the Train. I feel like I'm the only person that remembers them. Anyway, let's talk about Space Jam, the original.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Will, and it's been a while since I've done a retro review, but since there's a new Space Jam movie that just released this weekend, I figured let's revisit the original. So this retro review is going to be taking a look at Space Jam 1996. It stars Michael Jordan and Bugs Bunny. If you've never seen the original Space Jam, I'm surprised because I figured a lot of people have seen it. This is very much nostalgia for me. So if you haven't seen Space Jam, which again, surprise if you haven't, basically takes place between the time when Michael Jordan retired from the NBA before he went back to the NBA, and he did this weird thing where he played baseball for a minute. But anyway, the story really doesn't revolve too much around Michael Jordan, even though the movie would let you believe that the movie is about him reigniting his love for basketball and going back to play the NBA at the end of the movie. But no, this really centers around a group of aliens who are led by Danny DeVito, of all people, who run a theme park and they need new attractions. So they decide to enslave the Looney Tunes in order to add them to the attraction in the theme park. The Looney Tunes challenge them to a game of basketball, and of course they need help, and this is where Michael Jordan comes into play. I gotta say, the movie itself, I hadn't seen it in a very long time. And this was something obviously from my childhood, and I had very fond memories of Space Jam. Revisiting it, it definitely is a movie of its time. It's definitely not something that is going to appeal to everyone unless you kind of grew up in that time frame. This is when Michael Jordan was a god. I mean, he was a literal god. And Warner Brothers decided to cash in on it by also reinvigorating their Looney Tunes. That's exactly what it is. Michael Jordan is not an actor. And it is apparently obvious in the movie. I swear, rewatching it, he might have had this is an hour and a half movie, maybe an hour 45 movie. He probably has about 30 minutes total of speaking in the movie. I can be wrong, but it felt like he didn't do a lot of talking. And when he did, it was very stiff. But again, he's not an actor, he's an athlete. And this just kind of continues the trend even to this day, where a lot of athletes aren't necessarily great actors. They usually play muscle, or they play very low speaking roles. I mean, look at Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano for the most part. Let's not talk about Gina Carano right now. And that's probably why wrestlers make better transition from performers to actors, because they have years of technically acting on stage, because that's all professional wrestling really is. Spoiler alert if you're a wrestling fan, but you knew this. The movie does start off very slow, by the way. I forgot how slow the movie was at the beginning, because it really sets up Michael Jordan and tries to give him somewhat of a character arc in the movie, but the movie doesn't pick up until the actual basketball game between the Toon Squad and the Monstars, and the Monstars are the little aliens that steal the talent from other NBA players of the time, and they grow big and giant and stuff like that. The soundtrack, I would be behooved if I don't mention the soundtrack of this movie. This has Fly Like an Eagle by Seal. It had I Believe I Can Fly by He Who Should Not Be Named. You know who I'm talking about. And as I mentioned at the beginning, the opening song for Space Jam. The soundtrack was pretty popular and very integrated into the movie. There are multiple scenes where all of these very iconic songs kick off. And this movie had a pretty dope soundtrack. It did. At least for someone of my generation who grew up with the movie, I thought it was pretty dope. The movie is very dated. It is of its time. A lot of the references of the movie are of its time. So if you didn't come up in that age where you had the shirt with the Looney Tune characters and they were kind of dressed up looking like hip hop artists, and the fronts of them and the backs were on the back of the shirt. You know the shirt I'm talking about. If you didn't grow up in that age, rewatching this movie is probably going to completely fly over your head. I think they integrated him into the movie well enough that made total sense, and they surrounded him with some actors who could act. Like, we had people like Bill Murray and Wayne Knight who really kind of did some of the heavy lifting, but the movie was smart about one thing. It put a lot of the focus on the Looney Tunes characters and had those characters be the driving force of the movie. Michael Jordan was like the special guest star. It's like if you've ever watched the Scooby-Doo mysteries where they had the special guests on certain episodes, it's like that, but a longer format with more advanced, at the time, special effects. And it was funny. It still had moments that made me laugh, made me chuckle. I still like when Bugs and Daffy go to his house to try to get his stuff. I think Daffy is still one of the funniest people and has always been underrated. I like the basketball game. The game is kind of the highlight of the movie. It is really where the movie kind of launches itself. It's fun, it's energetic, it's got some really cool spots, it's got some great music as well. It is a predictable ending, but hey, it's a kid's movie. It basically is a kid's movie. But if you grew up in the time, in the 90s when this movie came out, you probably have very fond memories of the movie. And I do have fond memories for SpaceJam 96. I don't know what to expect from the new one, but I can always look back at this original one, albeit very dated. Some of the jokes and the references don't land as well and are probably a little inappropriate, especially for a kid's movie. And of course, this was the introduction of Lola Bunny, which probably made a lot of people question things about themselves at the time. But I still think the mixture of live action and animation, which was very minimal at this time, because keep in mind the only things that were really live action animated cross over with each other that were really mainstream were like Who Framed Roger Rabbit was a big one, Cool World, Monkey Bone, like those types of movies were the only ones. Space Jam was probably the first big blockbuster one in that time frame to really incorporate those two, and I think it worked really well for the movie overall. If you've never seen Space Jam, is it worth taking the time to watch it? I think if you're curious about what the new one is based off of, I would definitely say check it out. If you're nostalgic for it like I was, it was a good thing to watch for an hour and a half. It wasn't terrible to revisit it, but again, it is very dated, and it definitely does not show athletes very well as potential actors. It just doesn't, because Michael Jordan is not a good actor. But he's a great basketball player. He always was, and probably always will be. So that's my retro review for Space Jam 96. If you have seen it, if you did grow up on it like I did, what were some of your favorite parts of the movie? Let me know in the comments down below. Do you think that they should have never taken down the original website that lasted for over 20 years until this new movie came out? Let me know that in the comments as well. As always, thank you so much for watching this and all of my videos. I really do appreciate it. You can check out some of the spoiler reviews I've done for the Disney Plus series. I just wrapped up Loki. That is on the channel now as well. I did a quick review for Black Widow that just recently came out. So hopefully you will check those out. You can also check me out on Twitch. I've been streaming more on Twitch, twitch.tv/DGeekWill. I usually stream Magic the Gathering Arena, but I've also started streaming some of The Sims 4. I will probably do more of that once the new expansion pack for that comes out as well. You can follow me on all the social media listed at the end of the video as well. Like, share, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. And as always, until next time, I will catch you later. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you did like this video, why not give me a thumbs up and share it with your friends? You can subscribe to the channel by clicking on my gorgeous little face right over there. You can follow me on all the various social media platforms right below. And last but certainly not least, if you've got a few extra minutes, why not check out one of the lovely videos floating right over here. Later.